Welcome back to Midnight Affair Tales. Thank you for joining us. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as Daniel Carter sat on his front porch, watching the golden hues of the Houston sunrise melt into the sky. Mornings like these made him feel at peace, made him feel like he had everything a man could ask for. A successful career in finance, a beautiful wife who had been by his side for nearly 8 years, and Max, his loyal golden retriever who never left his side. Jessica stepped onto the porch, her silk robe loosely tied around her slender frame. Her blonde hair was slightly messy, but to him she was effortlessly stunning. "Morning, babe," she murmured, leaning down to kiss him. Her lips were soft, warm, familiar. Daniel smiled up at her. "Morning, beautiful. You sleep well?" She yawned dramatically and stretched her arms. "Like a baby?" Max wagged his tail happily as Jessica reached down to scratch behind his ears. She had always loved that dog, or so Daniel thought. Jessica's phone vibrated on the small patio table between them. The screen lit up, a message preview appearing for just a split second before she quickly snatched the phone and turned it face down. Daniel's brow furrowed. "Everything okay?" Jessica gave him a tight-lipped smile. "Yeah. Just work stuff." Something in the way she said it didn't sit right with him. He had no reason to suspect anything, no reason to doubt his wife of 8 years. Yet, the way she had snatched the phone so quickly, the slight shift in her expression, it planted a seed of doubt in the back of his mind. As Jessica walked back inside, Daniel sat still, his fingers running through Max's soft fur. Why did she seem so secretive lately? Daniel had never been the jealous or paranoid type. He trusted Jessica completely. But over the past few weeks things had started to feel different. She had been working late more often. More last-minute meetings. More girls' nights where she would come home smelling like expensive cologne instead of her usual vanilla perfume. At first, Daniel told himself it was nothing. Stress at work, maybe. But deep down he knew something wasn't right. Then one evening it happened. Jessica was in the shower, and her phone, which was usually glued to her hand, was left unattended on the nightstand. The screen lit up. Daniel's heart nearly stopped when he saw the message. "Can't stop thinking about last night? When can I see you again?" His stomach twisted into knots. His hands clenched into fists. Before he could think, before he could convince himself that it was all a misunderstanding, the bathroom door opened. Jessica stepped out, wrapped in a white towel, her damp hair clinging to her shoulders. She froze when she saw him holding her phone. "Daniel, what the hell are you doing?" she snapped, snatching it from his grip. His eyes burned into hers. "Who is that?" She let out a breathy, nervous laugh. "Oh my God, Dan. It's just a joke. My friend was messing around." Daniel stared at her. "A joke?" She rolled her eyes. "Yes. You're being ridiculous." She turned away, drying her hair as if the conversation was already over. But Daniel didn't feel ridiculous. That seed of doubt? It had taken root and now it was growing into something else. Something dark. Daniel lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to Jessica's soft, steady breathing beside him. His mind raced. Was he crazy? Was he overthinking? He glanced at her. She looked peaceful, undisturbed, like a woman with no worries, no guilt. That should have reassured him. It didn't. His gut told him something was wrong. And for the first time in his life he decided to listen to it. Carefully he slid out of bed, making sure not to wake her. He knew Jessica had a habit of leaving her laptop unlocked. Sitting at her desk in the dim glow of the screen, he opened her email. His hands trembled slightly as he scrolled through her messages. At first, nothing seemed unusual, until he saw a folder labeled Ryan. His stomach twisted. Ryan was his childhood best friend. Ryan was practically family. Daniel's hands hovered over the trackpad, hesitant, but then he clicked. And what he found shattered everything. Dozens of emails. Secret messages. Pictures, some of them explicit. Jessica in bed, smiling at the camera, the sheets barely covering her. Messages about secret getaways. Words that made Daniel's vision blur with rage. His wife was sleeping with his best friend. His body shook. His heart pounded so hard it felt like it might burst. His fingers clenched into fists so tight his knuckles went white. Jessica stirred in bed, letting out a soft sigh. Oblivious. Smug. Daniel forced himself to take deep breaths. Not now. Not yet. He had the proof. Now he needed a plan. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, staring at the screen, rereading every filthy message, every promise of love Jessica had given to Ryan. His hands trembled with rage, but his mind was clear. He wasn't going to confront her, not yet. He had been a fool for trusting her blindly. But now he had the upper hand. Jessica stirred beside him, shifting under the sheets. The thought of her lying there, pretending to love him while sneaking around with another man, made his stomach churn. He needed to know how deep this betrayal went. The next morning, as Jessica stood in front of the mirror applying her makeup, Daniel walked up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. He forced a smile. Thinking of taking a little trip, he murmured, watching her closely in the reflection. Somewhere nice. We could use a getaway. Jessica's hands froze for just a moment, so brief that most wouldn't notice. But Daniel wasn't most people anymore. She laughed lightly. That sounds nice. I'll have to check my schedule. Liar. Daniel knew she wasn't planning on going anywhere with him. But she was planning on going somewhere, with Ryan. While Jessica showered, Daniel sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and pulled up their joint bank account. His blood ran cold. She had been siphoning money. Thousands of dollars were missing. Transferred out in small amounts over time, just enough that he wouldn't notice. And then he saw the most recent transaction. A $5,000 withdrawal made yesterday. For a hotel in Miami. Daniel gritted his teeth so hard his jaw ached. His wife wasn't just cheating on him. She was stealing from him. And she thought he was too stupid to notice. Fine. Let her think that. It would make his revenge even sweeter. Later that afternoon, Jessica was getting dressed when she casually mentioned, "By the way, I'm taking Max to Mom's for a few days." Daniel's head snapped up. What? Why? She tied her hair up into a ponytail, not even looking at him. Just thought it'd be nice for him to get some fresh air. You know how much Mom loves him. Bullshit. Jessica had never cared about taking Max anywhere. If anything, she found his constant presence annoying. She was up to something. Daniel forced a nod. Yeah, that's fine. Jessica flashed a quick, empty smile. Great. She kissed him on the cheek and walked out, leash in hand. Daniel followed her with his eyes, his blood boiling. He knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't taking Max to her mother's. She was taking him to Ryan. She was stripping everything from Daniel, his money, his dignity, and now his dog. The one thing in this world that had never betrayed him. And that was the last straw. Jessica had no idea she had just sealed her own fate. Daniel waited until she left before jumping into his car and following her. He kept a safe distance, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Jessica drove across town, pulling into a gated luxury apartment complex. Ryan's building. She had been so careful, so calculating in covering her tracks. But she had underestimated him. Daniel watched as she got out of the car, opening the back door. Max wagged his tail, happily oblivious to the treachery unfolding around him. Jessica walked to the entrance, typed in a code, and disappeared inside. Daniel gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. He should march up there right now, expose them both, drag Ryan outside and beat him senseless. But no. That was too easy. Revenge should be slow. Painful. Absolute. Instead, he pulled out his phone and took pictures. Jessica at Ryan's door. Jessica holding Max's leash. Jessica kissing Ryan the second the door opened. Proof. Hard, undeniable evidence of their betrayal. And just like that, Daniel had everything he needed. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. This was about payback. And Daniel was about to ruin their lives. Daniel sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles ached. His heart pounded as he stared at the apartment door where Jessica had disappeared with his dog. With his money. With his best friend. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. He checked his phone. The pictures were crystal clear. Jessica standing in front of Ryan's apartment, holding Max's leash. Her kissing Ryan as the door swung shut behind them. How long had they been laughing behind his back? How many times had Jessica told Ryan she loved him, only to come home and kiss Daniel with that same mouth? He closed his eyes and exhaled slowly. He couldn't react emotionally. Not yet. That's what Jessica would expect. An outburst, a pathetic confrontation. But he wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, he'd let her believe she won. Because when he finally made his move, she'd never see it coming. He started his car and drove home, his mind calculating every step. By the time Jessica returned that evening, waltzing into the house like she hadn't just spent the day with her lover, Daniel was already playing his part. He sat at the kitchen table sipping a beer, pretending to scroll through his phone. Jessica set her bag down. "Hey babe," she said, her voice light. He looked up and forced a smile. "Hey, how was your day?" She hesitated for half a second, just long enough to confirm what he already knew. "Oh, just running errands. Nothing exciting." "Liar." Daniel nodded, pretending to believe her. "That's good." And just like that, the game began. Over the next few days, Daniel played his role perfectly. He acted normal. He laughed at Jessica's jokes. He even kissed her goodnight. But inside he was burning. At work, he stared at spreadsheets, unable to focus. The betrayal clawed at his insides, demanding vengeance. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw them together. Jessica. His best friend. His dog. He had lost everything. But the real kicker? Jessica thought she could walk away without consequences. That's what burned the most. One night, unable to hold it in any longer, he drove to a secluded park. He sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, his breath coming fast and shallow. The rage was unbearable. He had been loyal, faithful. He had loved her. And she had thrown him away like trash. He took out his phone, scrolling through the pictures of Jessica and Ryan. He could destroy her right now if he wanted. He could send these pictures to her family, to Ryan's wife, to everyone. But no, that would be too quick. Jessica deserved ruin. She deserved to feel what it was like to lose everything. And that's when he made the decision. He wasn't just going to take revenge. He was going to take everything she cared about. Daniel started with money. Jessica had drained their bank account little by little, thinking he wouldn't notice. Big mistake. Daniel had access to everything. He quietly moved every last penny out of their shared accounts into his personal one. Jessica wouldn't know until it was too late. Then he started planting seeds. He called Ryan's company and left an anonymous tip about financial fraud. Ryan had been stealing money for months. Daniel knew because he had covered for him before. Now, he'd let Ryan burn. Jessica and Ryan's little luxury world was about to come crashing down. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, Daniel would take the one thing Jessica truly loved. Not him. Not even Ryan. But Olivia. Jessica's sister. The only person Jessica had ever been jealous of. The final act of revenge was about to begin. Daniel wasn't just seeking revenge. He was engineering it. The moment Jessica stole from him, she had unknowingly started a game she could never win. Over the next few days, Daniel meticulously crafted his plan, ensuring every piece was in place before he made his first move. Step 1. Financial collapse. Jessica had no idea that Daniel had already moved all their money into his private account. She was still swiping credit cards, still spending like she had unlimited access. But soon, her cards would start declining. Her rent payments wouldn't process. The luxurious life she thought she had secured with Ryan? It was about to disappear. Step 2. Ryan's downfall. Daniel had called Ryan's company with an anonymous tip about his embezzlement scheme. It was only a matter of time before the walls closed in. Ryan wouldn't just lose his job, he'd be facing prison time. And Jessica? She'd be standing right next to him when it happened. Step 3. The ultimate betrayal. Daniel knew Jessica's one true weakness, her sister Olivia. Jessica had spent her whole life belittling Olivia, treating her as inferior, but deep down, she feared her. Because Olivia was everything Jessica pretended to be. Daniel would seduce Olivia. Not just as a power move. Not just as revenge. But to make Jessica feel the exact same betrayal she had inflicted on him. And when it was all done, when Jessica was left broke, abandoned, and utterly destroyed, Daniel would look her in the eyes and say, "Now we're even." Daniel had always known Olivia as Jessica's little sister, but now he saw her for what she truly was, his secret weapon. Unlike Jessica, Olivia had never been cruel. She had always been quieter, more reserved, living in her sister's shadow. But there was something else too. A long-standing resentment toward Jessica. A rivalry Jessica had always dismissed but Olivia never forgot. And Daniel? He was about to bring that rivalry to life. He reached out to Olivia casually, testing the waters. He invited her to lunch, telling her he needed someone to talk to after everything with Jessica. She hesitated at first but eventually agreed. And the moment she walked into the restaurant, Daniel knew he had her. She was stunning. Not in the way Jessica tried to be, with heavy makeup and flashy clothes. No, Olivia was effortlessly beautiful. Natural. Better. They talked for hours, and for the first time in weeks, Daniel felt something he hadn't expected. A genuine connection. Maybe revenge wasn't the only thing waiting for him at the end of this. Maybe there was something more. Jessica would never forgive herself for underestimating Olivia. As Daniel and Olivia continued spending time together, he saw the shift in her. The way her confidence grew, the way she started seeing herself outside of Jessica's shadow. But most importantly, he saw Jessica's reaction. She didn't notice at first. Then she started asking questions. Why are you spending so much time with Olivia? She's always been jealous of me. Be careful. Daniel played it cool, acting oblivious. She's been a good friend. Not everything is about you, Jess. That hit a nerve. Jessica didn't like losing control. And she was losing everything. Her money. Her perfect relationship with Ryan. And now, the one person she had always been able to control, Olivia, was slipping away. Jessica started texting Olivia more. Calling her. Trying to pull her back in. But it was too late. Olivia was falling for Daniel. And Jessica? She was watching her entire world collapse. Daniel had played his role flawlessly. He hadn't rushed, hadn't let his emotions control him. Every move he made was deliberate, precise, and cold. And now the shift was happening. Jessica was beginning to sense it. At first it was subtle. A furrow of her brow when she saw Daniel texting Olivia. A slight hesitation when she heard him laughing at something Olivia said over the phone. Then the shift became undeniable. One night, Jessica came home later than usual. She walked in to find Daniel sitting on the couch, casually scrolling through his phone. He didn't even glance up when she entered. For years, Daniel had been the one waiting up for her, the one who asked her how her day was, the one who cared. Now he didn't give a damn. Jessica lingered in the doorway, waiting for some kind of acknowledgement. When she didn't get one, she spoke. You've been talking to Olivia a lot lately? Daniel smirked but didn't look away from his phone. Yeah. She's been great company. Jessica's hands curled into fists. She's my sister, Dan. He finally looked up, locking eyes with her. And? You didn't seem to care when you were spending your time with Ryan? Jessica flinched. For the first time since her affair started, she felt the weight of her own betrayal. Daniel stood up, stretching as he walked past her. Don't worry, Jess. I'm just getting to know Olivia better. He leaned in slightly, voice dropping to a whisper. You always said she wanted to be like you. Jessica's face turned white. Daniel walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. She had no idea how deep this was going to cut. Jessica was spiraling. For the first time she was the one being played. And she couldn't stand it. She started watching Daniel more closely, studying his movements, trying to find something, anything, that would give her control again. But Daniel had changed. He didn't ask her about her day anymore. He didn't look at her with love in his eyes. He didn't care. One night she tried to seduce him. She walked into their bedroom wearing nothing but lingerie, her fingers trailing down his chest as she whispered, I miss us. Daniel looked at her. Not with desire. Not with love. Just pity. Did you miss me when you were with Ryan? He asked, his voice calm, controlled. Jessica's confidence crumbled instantly. She took a step back. Dan, you destroyed us, Jessica. And now you're realizing what it feels like to lose something you took for granted. He turned away, pulling the sheets over himself. Jessica stood there, humiliated, rejected, and worst of all, powerless. For the first time she felt the very thing she had made Daniel feel. Unwanted. And it was killing her. Daniel had been patient. He had let Jessica's paranoia fester, let her feel the creeping dread of losing control. Now it was time for his next move. It had to be big. Something that would completely break her. So he proposed to Olivia. And not just in private. No, that wouldn't be enough. He planned a grand engagement party, inviting everyone, family, friends, co-workers. And, of course, Jessica. He wanted her to watch. Wanted her to feel the same betrayal she had inflicted on him. The night of the party, Jessica walked in, dressed to perfection, wearing the same fake confidence she always did. But the second she saw Olivia, wearing a diamond ring on her finger, Daniel's arm wrapped around her waist, everything shattered. Her mouth fell open. Her hands clenched at her sides. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Daniel locked eyes with her across the room and smirked. Jessica felt her heart hammering in her chest. She had never felt jealousy like this before. And the worst part? She couldn't do anything about it. She had no right to complain. No excuse to be angry. Because this was exactly what she had done to him. Jessica forced herself to walk forward, past the crowd, her hands trembling as she stopped in front of them. "You're engaged?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel tightened his hold around Olivia's waist. "Yeah," he said casually. "Didn't I tell you? I finally found someone worth committing to." Jessica's entire world tilted. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but no words came out. And then Olivia spoke. "I always admired you, Jess," she said sweetly. "I guess I just wanted what you had." Jessica couldn't breathe. She had spent years treating Olivia as if she were beneath her. And now Olivia had stolen her life. Jessica turned away, her chest tightening, her vision blurring. For the first time in her life she was the one left behind. And Daniel? He was just getting started. Jessica left the engagement party humiliated. The moment she stepped out of the venue, she felt like she couldn't breathe. Her hands shook as she grabbed her phone and dialed Ryan's number. He didn't pick up. Her grip tightened around the phone. How did everything flip on her so fast? How did she go from being the woman who took everything to the woman who had lost everything? She got into her car, her mind spinning. Daniel had moved on. Daniel had chosen Olivia. Daniel had won. No. Jessica gritted her teeth, slamming her hands against the steering wheel. She wasn't going to let Daniel walk away like this. She refused to be replaced. Jessica spent the next few days obsessing. She stalked Olivia's social media, trying to find any sign that Daniel was faking it. That this wasn't real. But the pictures were everywhere. Daniel smiling, holding Olivia's hand. Daniel happy. Daniel free. Every image felt like a knife to the gut. Then came the final blow. She checked her bank account, expecting to see the money she had been stashing. Her screen loaded. Her balance? $0. Jessica's heart stopped. She scrolled through her transactions, her fingers moving frantically. All of it. Gone. Transferred. To Daniel. Her vision blurred. Her breathing turned ragged. Daniel had taken everything. She threw her phone across the room, screaming in frustration. She was losing. And for the first time in her life, she had no idea how to fix it. Ryan had no idea what was coming. Daniel had planted the seeds weeks ago. And now, it was time to watch him burn. Ryan strolled into work like usual, thinking he was untouchable. Thinking that his side business, stealing money from the company, was still a secret. He didn't know about the anonymous tip. Didn't know that Daniel had hand-delivered proof of his fraud to the corporate office. And he definitely didn't know that today was the day his world would crash. Ryan had just sat down at his desk when security walked in. "Mr. Stevens," the head of security said, his voice cold. "You need to come with us." Ryan blinked. "What? Now?" Whispers filled the office as Ryan was escorted out. His heart pounded as they led him to a private room where 2 FBI agents were waiting. "Mr. Stevens," one of the agents said, sliding a folder across the table. "Do you recognize these transactions?" Ryan looked down and felt his stomach drop. Bank statements. Forged invoices. Evidence of every single fraudulent transaction he had ever made. He couldn't breathe. This was bad. This was prison bad. The agent leaned forward. "You have 2 options. Cooperate, or face the maximum sentence." Ryan's hand shook. And in that moment he knew. He was finished. Jessica sat alone in her apartment, her mind spiraling. Ryan wasn't answering his phone. Daniel had taken her money. Olivia had taken her place. She had nothing left. But she wasn't going down without a fight. She grabbed her coat and stormed out of the apartment. She didn't know where she was going, until she did. Daniel's house. She pulled into the driveway and marched up to the door, banging on it with all her strength. The door opened. And there he was. Daniel. Looking stronger. Smarter. Untouchable. He raised an eyebrow. "Jessica." Jessica pushed past him, stepping inside. "We need to talk." Daniel shut the door, crossing his arms. "I don't see what we have left to say." Her eyes burned with desperation. "I want to fix this, Dan." He laughed. The sound was cold. Empty. "You want to fix this?" he echoed. "You cheated. You stole from me. You left me for Ryan. And now you want to fix things? Jessica swallowed hard. I made a mistake. Daniel shook his head, his expression unreadable. No. You made choices. And now you're just dealing with the consequences. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. We could be happy again. Daniel's jaw clenched. For a split second she saw something in his eyes. Something she thought was hope. But then he exhaled slowly. And smirked. You know what, Jess, he said, his voice low, dangerous. I actually am happy. Happier than I've ever been. And it's all because... His lips curled into a smirk. You're no longer in my life. Jessica's face crumbled. Daniel stepped back, opening the door. Goodbye, Jessica. For the first time she felt completely, utterly powerless. And as she walked away, the finality of it hit her. She had lost. Daniel had won. And the worst part? She had done it to herself. Jessica sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel, her breath coming in shallow gasps. She had lost everything, her money, her lover, her control over Daniel. But she still had one thing left. Desperation. And desperation could make people dangerous. Her mind raced as she tried to think of a way to undo what had happened. Daniel couldn't just move on. He couldn't be happy without her. That was the part that made her stomach twist in rage. She pulled out her phone and, without thinking, dialed Olivia. Rang. And then, to Jessica's shock, Olivia answered. Jess. Olivia sounded hesitant. Jessica swallowed her pride. We need to talk. Pause. Then Olivia sighed. Fine. I'm at Daniel's. You know where that is? Jessica's heart pounded. Of course Olivia was at Daniel's. Her hands clenched into fists. This isn't over. She put her car in drive and sped toward Daniel's house. Daniel stood in his living room, holding a glass of whiskey, watching Olivia from across the room. He knew this would happen. Jessica wasn't the type to go down without a final fight. The moment Olivia told him she had agreed to meet with Jessica, Daniel smirked. Let her come, he said simply. Olivia gave him a cautious look. Dan, she's not stable right now. I know. He took a slow sip of whiskey. That's what makes this fun. A knock at the door. Daniel placed his glass down. Time to end this. He opened the door and there she was, Jessica. Her makeup was smudged, her hair disheveled. She had lost weight. The once perfectly polished, manipulative woman looked like she was barely holding it together. And Daniel loved every second of it. Jessica shoved past him, her eyes blazing with fury. What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped. You stole my money, ruined my relationship, and now you're with my sister? Daniel calmly shut the door behind her. I didn't steal your money, he corrected. I just took back what was mine. Jessica's fists clenched at her sides. You think this is over? Her voice shook with rage. I will ruin you. I will? Daniel chuckled. Actually laughed. Jess, he said smoothly, stepping closer, you already tried. And look what happened. Jessica's face twisted with fury. You don't get to do this to me. Daniel smirked, leaning in. I already did. Jessica lost it. She raised her hand to slap him, but before she could, Olivia stepped between them. Jessica's breath hitched as she looked at her sister, really looked at her. And for the first time she saw it. Olivia wasn't the same quiet, weak-willed girl she had spent years looking down on. She was strong, confident, powerful. She had become everything Jessica had spent her life pretending to be. And worst of all, Daniel loved her. Jessica took a step back. This isn't fair. Her voice was hollow now, pathetic. Daniel exhaled, shaking his head. Fair? He laughed darkly. You cheated. You stole from me. You ripped my life apart like it meant nothing. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You didn't think there would be consequences? Jessica's lips parted, but no words came out. Olivia's voice was soft but firm. It's over, Jess. Jessica turned to Olivia, silent. And that's when Daniel saw it. For the first time in her life, Jessica was completely, utterly broken. There was nothing left of the woman who had once controlled everything. Jessica had lost. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. With a few swipes, he pulled up a file and turned the screen to face Jessica. Her eyes widened. What is this? She whispered. He smirked. The last nail in your coffin. On the screen was an email draft, addressed to Jessica's employer. Attached were screenshots of financial fraud. Proof that Jessica had stolen money, Not just from Daniel but from her own company. Her face turned pale. Dan, don't. He pressed send. Jessica staggered back as if she had been physically hit. No, 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 she whispered. You thought you were untouchable, Daniel said coldly. But now, you're nothing. Jessica shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. She turned to Olivia. Please, she choked out. I'm your sister. Olivia's expression didn't change. That's the thing, Jess, she said softly. You never acted like one. Jessica stared at them. And for the first time in her life she had no control. No power. No way out. Daniel opened the door. Get out. Jessica hesitated. She looked at Daniel, then Olivia, then at the empty space where her future used to be. Then, with a slow, defeated breath, she stepped outside. Daniel shut the door. And just like that, it was over. Jessica's world collapsed in a matter of hours. She lost her job. Her accounts were frozen under investigation. Ryan was in prison. Her reputation? Destroyed. She had spent her whole life winning. But in the end? She destroyed herself. Daniel didn't have to ruin her. He just had to give her the rope and let her hang herself. Daniel sat in his living room, the glow of the city lights casting long shadows across the floor. A glass of whiskey rested on the table beside him, half full, untouched. The silence was deafening. Jessica was gone. Ryan was rotting in prison. And Olivia? She was upstairs, sleeping soundly in his bed. Everything had gone according to plan. So why did it feel hollow? Daniel leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. He should be celebrating, but something wasn't right. His entire life had been fueled by revenge, by the drive to make Jessica suffer. And now that he had won, the fire inside him felt dimmer. He pulled out his phone, scrolling mindlessly. News articles flooded the screen. Prominent businesswoman Jessica Carter faces financial fraud charges. Ex-CEO Ryan Stevens indicted, faces 15 years in prison. The power couple that crashed and burned. Daniel smirked. Good. They deserved every bit of it. But as he stared at Jessica's mugshot, something inside him shifted. He had expected to feel ecstatic, to feel powerful, knowing she had nothing left. Instead he felt tired. Was this what revenge felt like? A long, bitter exhale? Daniel downed his whiskey in one gulp, then stood up, walking to the window. The city stretched before him, full of new possibilities. He had spent too much time in the past. It was time to figure out what came next. The next morning, Daniel woke up to the smell of fresh coffee and something off. He walked into the kitchen where Olivia stood at the counter, stirring her coffee absently. Something was on her mind. Daniel leaned against the doorframe. Penny, for your thoughts? Olivia hesitated, then sighed. Do you ever wonder if we went too far? Daniel raised an eyebrow. Too far? She bit her lip. I know Jessica deserved it, but... Daniel set his coffee down, eyes locking onto hers. There's no but, Olivia. She stole from me. She cheated. She tried to destroy me. All I did was even the score. Olivia exhaled. I don't want this revenge to be the only thing we have in common. Daniel tensed. He had spent so much time planning Jessica's downfall that he hadn't thought about what came next. And now, the one person standing beside him, Olivia, was starting to doubt. Daniel stepped forward, tilting her chin up with his fingers. This isn't just about revenge, he murmured. It's about us. The life we're building together. Olivia searched his eyes. For a moment, it seemed like she believed him. Then, softly she whispered, I just don't want to become like her. Daniel's stomach twisted. Because deep down he wasn't sure he hadn't already. Daniel thought he had seen the last of Jessica. He was wrong. 3 weeks after her public downfall, Daniel was leaving his office when he spotted a familiar figure leaning against his car. Jessica. She looked wrecked. Her once perfect hair was tangled, her designer dress wrinkled and unkempt. There was no arrogance, no fake confidence in her posture. Just desperation. Daniel stopped a few feet away, crossing his arms. You've got some nerve showing up here. Jessica lifted her gaze, and for the first time he saw something he never expected. Tears. Not the fake, manipulative kind. Real ones. She took a shaky breath. I have nothing left, Dan. Daniel clenched his jaw. Sounds like a you problem. Jessica exhaled sharply, looking away. I made mistakes. I know that now. But she swallowed hard. I never thought you'd do this to me. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. You mean you never thought I'd fight back? Jessica flinched. I get it, she said after a moment. You won. You ruined me. You took everything. Her voice cracked. And I deserve it? Daniel wasn't expecting that. For the first time, Jessica wasn't lying, wasn't playing a game. She was broken. Daniel stayed silent, waiting for the next lie, the next manipulation. But it didn't come. Jessica just stared at him, her once arrogant eyes filled with regret. I just needed to say I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. Daniel's heart should have hardened. He should have laughed in her face. But instead, he felt something he never thought he'd feel for her again. Pity. Jessica turned to leave, her shoulders shaking. And for the first time, Daniel didn't stop her. He let her go. Daniel stood frozen, watching Jessica walk away. For months, he had dreamed of this moment, the day she would stand before him, broken and powerless. Yet, as he watched her disappear into the shadows, he felt nothing. No satisfaction. No thrill. Just emptiness. He turned, got into his car, and gripped the steering wheel. This was supposed to feel good. He had won. He had ruined her. He had taken back everything she stole. So why did it feel like he had lost something too? Daniel shook his head, dismissing the thought. This was justice. And justice was never supposed to feel kind. When he got home, Olivia was waiting. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes sharp. She came to see you, Olivia said, not a question, a statement. Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. Yeah. Olivia studied him. And nothing. His voice was clipped. She's done. She knows it. Olivia's gaze lingered on him, like she was searching for something. Then softly she said, So why do you look like the one who lost? Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came. Because deep down he didn't know the answer. Jessica sat in a cheap motel room, staring at the wall. She had no money. No career. No allies. Daniel had taken everything. And the worst part? She had deserved it. But now, sitting in her own ruin, she had one question left. What now? A soft knock came at her door. Jessica hesitated. No one knew she was here. Slowly she got up and opened it. A woman stood on the other side, tall, elegant, dressed in a sleek black coat. Jessica blinked. Do I know you? The woman smiled, a sharp, knowing smile. No, she said. But I know you. Jessica's pulse quickened. Who the hell was this? The woman stepped inside, closing the door behind her. I've been watching what happened to you, Jessica. And I think we have something in common. Jessica swallowed hard. And what's that? The woman leaned in, her voice cold as ice. A reason to destroy Daniel Carter. Jessica's breath hitched. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her lips. Maybe she wasn't as powerless as she thought. Daniel sat in his office, rubbing his temples. Something wasn't sitting right. Jessica was gone. Defeated. Destroyed. Yet deep down he had a feeling this wasn't over. He had learned one thing about Jessica over the years: she never stayed down for long. A knock at the door. His assistant, Mallory, peeked in. There's someone here to see you? Daniel frowned. I'm not expecting anyone. Mallory hesitated. She says it's important. Daniel exhaled. Fine. Send her in. The door opened. A woman walked in, the same woman who had approached Jessica in the motel. Daniel's eyes narrowed. She smiled. Mr. Carter? Daniel leaned back in his chair. Who are you? She placed a file on his desk. Someone who knows exactly what Jessica Carter is planning next. Daniel's heart pounded. So, the game wasn't over after all. Daniel stared at the woman standing in his office. She was tall, polished, and exuded an air of authority that most people had to work decades to achieve. She wasn't just some random player in this game. She was dangerous. He steepled his fingers, leaning forward. You still haven't answered my question. Who the hell are you? The woman's smirk was effortless. I go by many names in different circles, Mr. Carter. But for now you can call me Evelyn. Daniel narrowed his eyes. And what exactly do you want? Evelyn pushed the file across his desk. I think the real question is, what do you want, Daniel? His pulse ticked up a notch. Something about her was unsettling. She didn't look at him like most people did, like a man who had won. She looked at him like a piece on her chessboard. And that put him on edge. Daniel flipped open the file. Inside were documents, transaction records, photos. Jessica sitting in a motel. Jessica meeting with someone he didn't recognize. Jessica plotting. Daniel's stomach twisted. He had thought she was broken, thought he had beaten her so completely that she couldn't rise again. But he had underestimated one thing. Desperation breeds recklessness. He looked back up at Evelyn. What does she want? Evelyn leaned back, crossing her legs. Revenge, of course. Same as you? Daniel clenched his jaw. She has nothing left. How is she planning on coming after me? Evelyn's lips curved. That's where it gets interesting. She slid another document toward him. Jessica is going to ruin your name, your reputation, and everything you built. And she's going to do it in a way you never expected. Daniel scanned the document. His blood ran cold. This wasn't a fight anymore. Jessica was about to burn his entire world down. Jessica's hands trembled slightly as she signed the last document. The ink barely had time to dry before Evelyn folded the papers and locked them away in a sleek black folder. Jessica exhaled sharply. And you're sure this will work? Evelyn's smile was razor sharp. I don't deal in maybes, Jessica. I deal in certainties. Jessica swallowed, a mix of nerves and exhilaration coursing through her. For the past month she had been at rock bottom. No money. No job. No power. But now she had leverage. Evelyn had access to resources Jessica never dreamed of. And with the right connections, they had discovered something Daniel Carter never wanted the world to know. A secret. A vulnerability. A weapon. Jessica smirked. Then let's get started. She had spent too long being a victim. Now she was back in the game. And this time, she wasn't playing fair. Daniel sat in his penthouse, staring out at the city. His whiskey sat untouched on the table. His instincts told him something was coming. And then his phone rang. Mallory's voice was shaking. Sir, you need to see this. Daniel grabbed his laptop, quickly typing in the news website she sent him. And there it was. Daniel Carter, the business tycoon with a dark past? His blood turned to ice. The article was brutal. It dug into his past, his business dealings, his revenge plot against Jessica. It painted him as a cold, ruthless sociopath who had destroyed his ex-wife in a calculated, merciless attack. His breath came in short, sharp bursts. Jessica had set him up. And now, the world was turning against him. His phone rang again, this time from his lawyer. Daniel exhaled, rubbing a hand down his face. This wasn't just an attack. This was war. And Jessica had just drawn first blood. Daniel gripped the edges of his desk, his mind racing as he scrolled through the article. It was a hit piece, professionally crafted, strategically leaked, and designed to turn public perception against him. Every detail was carefully worded to paint him as a monster, a man so obsessed with revenge that he destroyed his ex-wife's life for sport. Never mind that Jessica was the one who cheated. Never mind that she stole from him. Never mind that she broke him first. None of that mattered anymore. The world didn't care about the truth. They only cared about the story. And Jessica had flipped the script. His phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from lawyers, business associates, investors. People who once praised him but now wanted nothing to do with him. His lawyer's voice was grave when he finally answered. We have a problem, Daniel. No shit, Daniel snapped, pacing. How bad? The lawyer sighed. Jessica's team isn't just attacking your reputation. They're building a case. Daniel's breath stilled. What kind of case? A civil lawsuit. Emotional and financial distress. Public defamation. She's claiming you orchestrated an entire revenge campaign to ruin her life. Daniel's stomach twisted. This wasn't just a PR nightmare. This was legal warfare. Jessica was coming for everything. And she had backed him into a corner. Olivia paced the kitchen, her phone clenched in her hand. She had seen the articles, the interviews, the social media firestorm tearing Daniel apart. And for the first time she wondered, had they gone too far? Daniel walked in, his face cold and unreadable. You saw the news? She nodded. Jessica's not just coming for you, Dan. She's coming for us. He exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. I underestimated her. Olivia hesitated. Maybe we pushed her to this? Daniel's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. What the hell does that mean? She swallowed hard. I mean, think about it. We took everything from her. Her money. Her name. Her life. Maybe she had no choice but to fight back. Daniel's jaw ticked. Are you saying this is my fault? His voice was dangerously low. No, Olivia said quickly. She sighed, looking away. I don't want to lose you to this. Daniel softened. He walked over, cupping her face. I'm not going anywhere, he murmured. But deep down, a part of him knew he had already lost something. And it wasn't just Jessica. Jessica sat in the dimly lit office, Evelyn lounging in the chair across from her. The latest news article scrolled across the laptop screen. Daniel Carter's empire under fire. Jessica smirked. He's drowning? Evelyn sipped her wine. Not yet. But he will be. Jessica leaned forward. What's next? Evelyn's lips curved. We take the one thing he still has. Jessica's heart pounded. You mean, Olivia? Evelyn smiled. He stole your life, didn't he? Jessica nodded slowly. Then it's time, Evelyn murmured, to steal his. Jessica exhaled, her heart hammering. This was it. The final move. And when she was done, Daniel Carter would have nothing left. Daniel sat in his penthouse office, staring out at the city. Everything was slipping through his fingers. His business associates were pulling away. His lawyers were warning him about possible legal consequences. And worst of all, Olivia was starting to doubt him. Jessica's attack wasn't just about revenge. It was psychological warfare. She wasn't trying to beat him in court. She was trying to destroy the man he had become. And damn it, it was working. His phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. We need to talk. Daniel exhaled, running a hand through his hair. That's never a good sign. Daniel stepped into their home, heart pounding. Olivia stood in the living room, arms crossed, eyes stormy. This has to stop, she said. Daniel stiffened. What are you talking about? She gestured to the TV, where yet another news special was covering the Daniel Carter scandal. His face, his name, his past, all being ripped apart, analyzed, exposed. This is getting out of control, Olivia said. Jessica's destroying your reputation, your business, and you're just, what? Letting it happen? Daniel's jaw clenched. You think I'm letting her do this? Olivia exhaled sharply. I think you underestimated her. Daniel hated hearing that. Because deep down, she was right. Olivia sighed, stepping closer. I love you, Dan. But I can't live in the middle of a war. I don't want my life to be about revenge. Daniel's chest tightened. She's coming after you, Olivia. His voice was low, warning. Jessica isn't going to stop until she takes everything. Olivia hesitated. I just don't know if I can do this anymore. Daniel's stomach dropped. She turned and walked upstairs. And for the first time, Daniel felt real fear. Because this wasn't just about losing money or reputation anymore. He was about to lose the one thing he never expected to care about. Jessica sat across from Evelyn, her fingers tapping against the table. We have him cornered, Jessica murmured. Evelyn nodded, taking a slow sip of wine. Now it's time for the kill shot. Jessica's stomach twisted, not from doubt but from anticipation. For months she had been the one suffering, the one losing. Now, Daniel Carter was on the edge of collapse. But taking his business and reputation wasn't enough. She had one more move to play. One last knife to twist. She smirked. Time to take Olivia. Evelyn smiled. Now you're thinking like a winner. Jessica exhaled, her pulse racing. The end was coming. And when it was over, Daniel wouldn't have anything left. Daniel sat in his office, his fingers tapping against the glass of whiskey on his desk. The city lights flickered outside his penthouse window, casting long shadows across the room. He had been in control of everything. Every move, every decision, every calculated piece of his revenge against Jessica had been his to dictate. But now the game board was shifting beneath him. Jessica had turned the entire world against him. His business, his reputation, and worst of all, Olivia. She was slipping. And if Daniel didn't act now, he would lose her too. His phone buzzed. A message from his lawyer. We need to talk. Urgent. Daniel exhaled sharply and dialed. The voice on the other end was tense. It's about the lawsuit, Daniel. Jessica's legal team is pushing hard. If this goes to court, she's claiming emotional and financial damages. You could be looking at a massive settlement. Daniel gritted his teeth. She stole from me. I should be suing her. The lawyer sighed. Public opinion isn't on your side. Jessica's playing the victim perfectly. If this goes to trial, you will lose. Daniel's grip tightened around the glass. Lose? He never lost. But right now it felt like he was drowning. He ended the call and set his phone down. His mind was racing, searching for a way out. Then the door opened. Olivia stepped inside, her expression unreadable. Daniel's pulse ticked up a notch. This was it. This was the conversation that would decide everything. Olivia stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her expression conflicted. Daniel had seen that look before, on people who were about to walk away. His stomach tightened. She took a deep breath. Dan, I can't do this anymore. The words hit like a gut punch. Daniel forced his expression to remain neutral. Can't do what? She gestured vaguely, frustration flashing in her eyes. This. The lawsuits. The scandals. The constant battle with Jessica. It's consuming you? Daniel exhaled sharply. Jessica is attacking me. What am I supposed to do? Just let her win? Olivia hesitated. This isn't about winning anymore. She shook her head. It's about survival. And honestly, I don't think I want to be in the middle of this fight anymore. Daniel stepped closer. So what are you saying? Olivia bit her lip, looking torn. I'm saying I need space. Time to think. A beat of silence stretched between them. Daniel had faced corporate giants, lawsuits, betrayal, and backstabbing. But this was different. This hurt. He didn't beg. He didn't plead. He simply nodded. If that's what you need. She exhaled softly, like she had been expecting him to fight her on it. I'll stay at a hotel for a while. Daniel clenched his jaw. Do whatever makes you happy, Olivia. Her eyes softened, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she walked past him, grabbing her purse and heading for the door. Daniel didn't stop her. But when the door closed behind her, the weight of her absence hit him like a truck. Jessica had taken everything. Now she had Olivia too. Jessica leaned back in her chair, sipping her wine, watching as Evelyn typed away on her laptop. How's it looking? Jessica asked casually. Evelyn smirked. The media storm is working perfectly. Investors are backing out of Daniel's projects. His stocks are dropping. His business is bleeding. Jessica's lips curved. Good. She had waited for this moment. And now it was time for the final blow. Evelyn slid a document across the table. This is what seals it. Jessica scanned the papers, her heart hammering. A formal motion for a lawsuit, not just for damages but to take ownership of Daniel's assets. If this worked, she wouldn't just destroy him. She would own him. Jessica smirked. File it? Evelyn raised an eyebrow. You sure? Once we do this, there's no going back. Jessica's eyes darkened. I don't want to go back. She picked up her pen and signed the papers. This was the endgame. Daniel sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the swirling amber liquid in his glass. He had spent his whole life winning. Yet for the first time he was losing everything. Jessica had done it. She had pulled every string, set every trap, and now she was about to take his empire. His lawyers were scrambling, trying to stop the damage. His business associates were abandoning ship. And Olivia? She was gone. Daniel clenched his fists. No, this wasn't how it ended. Jessica might have thought she broke him, but she was wrong. Because Daniel Carter was about to remind the world why he was a man you didn't betray. He pulled out his phone and dialed. The voice on the other end answered. I need you to dig into Evelyn Montgomery. Find everything. Pause. Then, understood. Daniel hung up, his jaw tightening. Jessica thought she was untouchable. But she didn't realize. Every king falls. And Daniel? He was about to pull her entire kingdom down with him. Daniel Carter was done playing defense. For months, Jessica had controlled the game, twisting the narrative, turning the world against him. But now she had made one fatal mistake. She underestimated him. Daniel sat in his darkened office, the weight of everything pressing down on him. His business was hanging by a thread. Olivia had walked away. His reputation was in tatters. But there was one thing he still had. Power. And he was about to use every ounce of it to end this war once and for all. His phone rang. A deep voice spoke on the other end. We dug into Evelyn Montgomery just like you asked. Daniel's fingers tightened around the glass of whiskey in his hand. And? A brief pause. Then, she's not who she says she is? Daniel's jaw clenched. Explain? We traced her past. Before she got involved with Jessica, she had another name, another identity. She's been involved in multiple corporate takedowns, each time attaching herself to someone with power, using them to execute her own agendas. Daniel's pulse quickened. She wasn't just helping Jessica. She was using her. His contact continued. Jessica thinks she's in control, but Evelyn? She's the one pulling the strings. Daniel leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. So that's how it was. Jessica was so blinded by revenge that she didn't even realize she had become a pawn in someone else's game. Daniel set down his glass. It was time to turn the tables. Jessica sat across from Evelyn in the dimly lit lounge, sipping champagne as they reviewed the latest court filings. Everything was falling into place. Daniel was losing. And soon she would have everything he built. Evelyn smirked. Once the lawsuit is finalized, he won't just be ruined financially, he'll be blacklisted from every major corporation. Jessica grinned. He'll be nothing. But then, her phone vibrated. She glanced down. A message from an unknown number. Jessica frowned but opened it. And her stomach dropped. Attached was a document, one detailing Evelyn's real identity. Her past, her frauds, her history of using people to execute corporate sabotage. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't possible. Evelyn would have told her, right? She looked up, forcing her expression to remain neutral. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Something wrong? Jessica licked her lips, shaking her head. No, nothing. But inside, panic was setting in. Because if Daniel had found this information, that meant he wasn't just fighting back. He was about to destroy her. Olivia sat in her hotel room, staring at her phone. She had told Daniel she needed space, but the longer she stayed away, the more she realized something. She missed him. She missed his presence, his intensity, his drive. Most of all, she missed the way he looked at her like she mattered. Jessica had made it seem like Daniel was the villain in this war. And for a while, Olivia had started to believe it. But now, she wasn't so sure. Something about the way Jessica had so perfectly played the victim, it felt scripted. It felt manipulative. Olivia's hands trembled as she pulled up the latest news article. She skimmed through it, her pulse spiking when she reached the final line. Jessica Carter's legal battle gains momentum, spearheaded by her mysterious business strategist, Evelyn Montgomery. Evelyn. That name sent a shiver down Olivia's spine. Because something wasn't right. She had met Evelyn once. And the way the woman watched her, analyzed her, it had unsettled Olivia. What if Jessica wasn't in control at all? Her heart pounded. She had to talk to Daniel. Because if her gut was right, Jessica wasn't just fighting for revenge. She was being played. And the only person who could stop this was the man she had walked away from. Jessica sat alone in her apartment, her fingers shaking as she scrolled through the document Daniel had sent her. Everything Evelyn had told her, the promises, the plans, the strategy, all of it was built on lies. Evelyn wasn't helping her because of loyalty. She was helping her because she had something to gain. Jessica's breathing turned ragged. She had spent months tearing Daniel apart, trying to ruin him, to leave him with nothing. But now she realized she had been the one getting played. Her hands clenched into fists. No, she wouldn't let Evelyn use her. She had worked too hard for this. She needed to fix this before it was too late. Jessica grabbed her phone and dialed Evelyn. The woman answered on the second ring. Jessica. Jessica's voice was cold as ice. We need to talk. Pause. Then Evelyn chuckled. Having doubts, darling? Jessica gritted her teeth. I'm not your pawn. Evelyn sighed. Oh, Jessica. Her voice was mocking. You've been my pawn since the moment you let me into your life. Jessica's stomach dropped. Evelyn continued, her tone turning deadly. And the best part? You handed me everything on a silver platter. Jessica's hands trembled. You wouldn't? Evelyn laughed. I already did. Jessica's screen lit up with a new email notification. She clicked it. Her blood ran cold. Attached was a document exposing all of her financial fraud. Every shady deal, every misstep, all traceable back to her. Jessica's world spun. Evelyn had played her. And now, she was about to take everything. Daniel leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly as he checked his phone. A message from an unknown number. He opened it. Jessica Carter wants to meet. Daniel smirked. So, The Queen had finally realized she was never in control. He picked up his whiskey, taking a slow sip. Jessica thought she had won this war. But she had forgotten one thing. Daniel Carter never loses. And tomorrow? He would prove it. Jessica sat at the small cafe, stirring a cup of black coffee that had long since gone cold. She had called Daniel. She had practically begged him to meet. And now she was waiting. Waiting for the man whose life she had tried to destroy. Waiting for the only person who might be able to save her from the monster she had helped create. Evelyn. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her phone again. No new messages. Was he even going to show up? Had she finally pushed him too far? Then, the cafe door swung open. And there he was. Daniel Carter walked in, his presence commanding, his gaze sharp and unreadable. Every part of him oozed control, the control she had tried so hard to strip away from him. And yet here he was, untouchable as ever. He slid into the seat across from her, resting his forearms on the table. This better be good, Jess. Jessica swallowed hard. She had rehearsed what she was going to say 100 times, but now that he was here, everything felt different. She had no more power. No more leverage. She was just a woman who had lost everything, sitting across from the man who had survived it all. She exhaled. Evelyn played me. Daniel didn't react. His face remained stone-cold neutral. I know. Jessica blinked. You already knew? Daniel smirked, leaning back in his chair. Jessica, I knew the second you started working with her. You thought you were taking me down, but Evelyn? She was playing both of us. Jessica's stomach churned. She's going to burn me, Daniel. Her voice cracked. She has all the proof. The fake financials, the accounts I manipulated, she set me up. Daniel raised an eyebrow. And you expect me to save you? Jessica hesitated. Then finally she whispered, yes. Silence stretched between them. Then Daniel let out a slow, humorless chuckle. This is poetic, isn't it? He mused, tilting his head slightly. You spent months tearing me apart and now? You're sitting here, asking me to save you. Jessica's throat tightened. I didn't think she'd do this to me. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. Daniel leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. Jessica, let me tell you something about people like Evelyn. He lowered his voice, eyes locked onto hers. They don't care about loyalty. They care about winning. Jessica swallowed hard because she knew he was right. And unless she did something fast, she was about to lose everything. Daniel exhaled, rubbing his temples. He should let Jessica fall. He should sit back and watch her get devoured by the very game she tried to play against him. But something wasn't sitting right with him. Evelyn wasn't just another opponent. She was dangerous. And if she wasn't stopped now, she wouldn't just take down Jessica. She'd keep going. Until every piece of the board was hers. Daniel sighed, staring at Jessica. Why should I help you? His voice was calm, controlled. Jessica swallowed. Because if she takes me down, you're next. Daniel didn't flinch. You're already ruined, Jessica, he said. What else could she possibly take from me? Jessica hesitated. Then, slowly, she pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. Daniel frowned but picked it up. His blood ran cold. On the screen was a leaked document, one that implicated him in illegal business dealings. It wasn't true, but it looked real. If this hit the media, he was finished. Jessica exhaled. She's already making moves against you. This isn't just about me anymore. Daniel clenched his jaw. He should have known. Evelyn never intended to just back Jessica. She was playing for total domination. And now, Daniel had no choice but to make his next move. Daniel leaned back, exhaling sharply. Fine, he said. We take her down? Jessica blinked. Just like that? Daniel smirked. Jessica, I was planning on destroying Evelyn before you even walked into this cafe. Jessica hesitated. Then, why did you come? Daniel's gaze darkened. To see if you were worth saving? Jessica's throat tightened. And? He stood up, tossing a few bills on the table. We'll see. Jessica exhaled shakily. She had spent months trying to destroy this man. And now, he was the only one who could save her. Daniel pulled out his phone as they walked out. We need to move fast. Evelyn's already ahead of us. Jessica hesitated. What's the plan? Daniel didn't miss a beat. We cut off her oxygen. We take her funding, expose her past, and make sure she has nowhere left to run. Jessica's heart pounded. That's a solid plan. Daniel glanced at her. This isn't my first war, Jess. She shivered, because for the first time she realized Daniel Carter was even more ruthless than she had ever imagined. And now, he was coming for Evelyn. Evelyn Montgomery was no stranger to war. She had built her entire career by taking down powerful men, manipulating those weaker than her, and turning greed into her greatest weapon. And Daniel Carter? He had been just another name on her list. Until now. She sat in her office, sipping a glass of wine, watching the city below her. The lawsuit against Daniel was public. His reputation had collapsed. His business was bleeding money. She had won. Or so she thought. Her assistant Victor knocked on the door looking uneasy. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Yes. Victor swallowed. You need to see this. He placed a tablet in front of her. Evelyn's smirk faltered as she scanned the screen. Breaking news. Business strategist Evelyn Montgomery tied to corporate fraud scandals. Her stomach twisted. She scrolled down and her breath caught in her throat. Documents. Leaked emails. Financial records. Evidence. All of it exposed. Her entire career, laid bare for the world to see. Evelyn dropped her wine glass. Her pulse hammered as she clicked through the files. This wasn't possible. No one had access to these. No one except. The realization hit her like a sledgehammer. Daniel. Her office phone rang. She snatched it up. What the hell did you do? She spat. Daniel's voice was calm. Controlled. Checkmate. Evelyn's breath came in short bursts. You don't understand? Daniel chuckled. Oh, I understand, Evelyn. You spent months trying to destroy me. But you forgot something. His voice dropped, cold and lethal. I'm not like the other men you've taken down. Evelyn squeezed her eyes shut. I can fix this. Daniel sighed. You still think you have control. That's adorable. She heard paper rustling on his end. I just sent this evidence to every major media outlet, law enforcement agency, and corporate watchdog in the country. Evelyn's stomach dropped. The SEC will be knocking on your door in the next few hours, Daniel continued. I'd start packing if I were you. She shot to her feet, pacing. You won't get away with this. Daniel laughed softly. I already have. Click. The line went dead. Evelyn screamed, throwing her phone across the room. She had lost. And Daniel Carter had just ended her career forever. Jessica stood on Daniel's penthouse balcony watching the sunrise. She felt empty. Evelyn was finished. The lawsuits had collapsed. The media had turned against her. Daniel had won. And yet, the weight of everything they had done still lingered. She turned as she heard footsteps behind her. Daniel. She studied him, trying to see the man she once knew. Do you feel better? She asked softly. Daniel exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I don't know. Jessica scoffed. We destroyed each other for months. And now that it's over, what do we have left? Daniel leaned against the railing, looking at her. I have my business. My name. My power. Jessica's lips pressed into a thin line. And what about Olivia? A flicker of pain crossed his face. She left. I don't blame her. Jessica nodded slowly. You won, Daniel. But did you really win? Silence stretched between them. Then Jessica sighed. I think we should stop fighting. Daniel tilted his head. Just like that? Jessica swallowed. I'm tired. She looked at him, eyes raw with emotion. Aren't you? For the first time, Daniel let his guard down. Yes, he admitted. Jessica inhaled sharply. So what happens now? Daniel didn't answer immediately. Because for the first time in years he didn't know. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the beginning of something else. Something neither of them could predict. Maybe revenge wasn't the answer after all. What would you have done in Daniel's place? Would you have let Jessica fall? Or would you have helped her? Did Daniel really win? Or did he lose more than he realized? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more gripping stories. Because sometimes the real story begins after the revenge ends.